Hey everybody, it's time for an update on the TiViBox Slim. Well, as you see, it's finished. It's up and running. There's Windows Media Center. And you're probably wondering, where's the box at? Oh, it's over here. Basically, it's a Windows Media Center PC contained in a set-top box. Now, for those of you who are seeing this for the first time, I suggest you go back and watch my part system video of the computer that the motherboard came out of, along with my first video of actually building this thing. Now, I didn't cover every single detail of building this thing. There were some parts that were actually omitted and not included. But basically, I just wanted to go over the final product here. So this is probably the first time you're seeing the actual box itself in completed form. Of course, I had to cover up the DirecTV logo. Never had DirecTV in this house. So anyways, on the front we have two USB ports. One of them is used for the remote's receiver, infrared receiver. It has a power LED and a hard disk LED. Well, you know, activity LED. Now, basically, this thing used to have buttons here through here, and it had like navigational buttons like in a circle there. I basically just punched all those out and installed this USB header. You know, all this stuff came out of former part system cases. I have a lot of these saved up for random things like this. Installed a power button here. Original power button was actually there. I actually made that the power LED, you know, power indicator. And yes, it is very, very freaking bright. I did not know it was going to be that bright. You can probably see it where it says power. So, all the original buttons were ripped out of this thing and replaced with the USB ports, the power button here, and the status LEDs. And where the satellite services smart card used to go installed is now where an additional audio jack and a mic jack are located. I'll probably never use these, but I figured it's going to include them just in case I ever needed them. Let's have a look at the back of this thing. There's our hookups there. Nice and simple for power. Look at that. It's a standard Toshiba laptop that plugs right in and powers the whole thing. No bulky ATX power supply to cram in there, you know, no Pico power supply, nothing like that. It's just so simple. That's why I like this particular board. It was because of the fact that it's self-contained. It has the power supply built into itself. You give it 19 volts and it takes care of the rest. It has DC to DC conversion for all your different voltages, like your 5 volt, your 3.3 volt, your 12 volt, and things like that. Yeah, pretty typical interface here. You got your common video hookups. No PS2. I mean, we couldn't have PS2 in a thing like this. They put the power jack in its place. You got your 10100 LAN, which I wish it was gigabit, but it's only 10100. Oh well. Got some USB ports, you know, whatnot back here. Now, there's two things I had to do to this thing after I finished it. One thing was I had to add some additional RAM. I only had 2 gigs of RAM, and I upped it to 4. I also added a cooling fan back here. That way it helps draw air through the entire chassis and keep it nice and cool, because I was getting a little toasty there for a while in my initial testing. Now, the tricky thing about that fan was getting it wired in, because considering this motherboard has the power supply self-contained, I had to pretty much tap in the fan somewhere. Considering the motherboard only had one fan header, and that's for the fan that's actually installed on the APU right now, I had to be a little creative. So basically, since this machine here has a solid-state drive that runs on just 5 volts, the 12 volt supply from the hard disk power lead was not needed. We had 4 wires on that cable. Let me go and show you what it looks like actually. So basically, here's what the cable looks like. This is the actual one I didn't need because I only had one device in there, not 2. This side plugs into the motherboard. You get 5 volts and 12 volts out of it, and 2 grounds. just like a common, like, let's say a Molex connector. And there's where they interface into the SATA device. Basically what I did was, since the solid state drive only needed the two on the right, the white and the red, that's your 5-volt supply and ground, I basically cut the 12-volt wires right here at the end, pulled the sleeving back just a little bit to get these wires out, and basically just hardwired the fan right in. And it's working fantastic. So that's how I wired the fan in. Yes, it runs on 12 volts, wide open. Doesn't make too much noise. That fan actually came out of a DVR box that I recently disassembled. I'm not sure if it was speed controlled, or if it ran, wide open like that or not. So anyways, now that you got an idea how this thing looks, on the front and the back, again, this has a very basic setup. It's an AMD Essentials 300 APU. One of very, very power efficient APUs. Not very powerful in regards to processing power, but it is very, very power efficient. I think the TDP of that chip was only like, 15 watts or so. Not to mention the chip itself is very tiny. It's like less than the whole package that's soldered to the board is like barely the size of a penny. It's really, really small. So now you have an idea how this thing looks, and let's go and take a look at how it performs. Now this box here is a little bit slower than the TV box that it replaced, but the big thing about the previous TV box was it was drawing a lot of energy. It was putting out a lot of heat, heating this room up pretty intensively, and I wanted to get it replaced with something more efficient for what my grandma uses this thing for. She does not record TV, she just watches TV with the thing. That's pretty much it. And the only way to get a TV in here without a lot of hassle is using Windows Media Center, because there's no cable tap, there's no coax tap in this room. But there is Ethernet. So basically, Windows Media Center is runs on top of Windows 7 Home Premium. Safe to say, this is one machine that will not be getting Windows 10. Here's something funny, watch this. Keyboard error. You think? It could be worse. It could be the one that says keyboard error, press F1 to continue. Now what's interesting is that thing has a solid state drive in it, but you still hear some noise from it. It's probably the SSD or the board itself making the noises. Not unusual. It does take a little while to get up and running, but I'm satisfied with it. It does boot faster than, let's say, a regular like cable set-top box, most definitely. It is a little bit slower than the other TV box in the house, but something it works just fine. You do have to give it a minute or so once you cold start it. And let's look for a channel that's could be something I could display on YouTube. I gotta go wait to the locals. Hopefully we get commercials or something like that. Well, it's the local news, I do think. Let's show you guys how this thing works. Can't do it for long though.
Developing this afternoon and evening, then we kind of do it all over again on Tuesday, although it shouldn't be as cloudy of a start tomorrow.
So it does work fairly well, I must say.
Scattering of showers around here tomorrow afternoon.
Alright, go ahead and stop. So anyways, yeah, it does, you know what, it does the job for what it is. Yeah, for some of you guys who are new to my Windows Media Center videos are wondering, how are you getting TV servers without a tuner in here? Well, basically, this box, just like the rest of my TV computers, uses a Seton Infinity TV 6 tuner, network tuner. The tuner itself is actually in the Mid-Tower Deluxe Black Max. You know, in this machine here, the one computer in the house that does not actually run Windows Media Center. There it is. It's actually the Infinity TV 6 PCIe, which they claim does not support network tuners, but it does. You have 6 tuners available. There's the other TV box for those who were wondering. This one is designed to be a DVR. It does have 2 terabytes of storage available for recording shows. This one has 4 tuners available, so this machine here can record up to 4 channels at the same time. Let's go back in there. So that's 4 tuners being used. 1 tuner gets used by Mid-Tower Deluxe, and the final tuner gets used by this machine here. So anyways, that's a brief overview of the Windows Media Center setup here, and that's an update on the TiViBox Slim. You know, all I really like doing to it is adding some decals to it, you know, some Computer Company decals, and I think it'll be set to go. And this remote control here is about had it, so you know, I may just buy me a new one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this button out of the center, just pop it out, and actually glue it to the front. I think the Windows Media Center logo will look really good on the front of that machine. So yeah, while Microsoft thinks Media Center is dead, it's definitely not dead in this house. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Had no questions or comments? Feel free to ask, and thanks for watching.